All right. Question is about the Dead Sea Scroll, because we all know, Rabbi, that the Dead Sea Scroll is matched with our current Torah Masoretic text. But his question is specifically to the Psalm 145, which is
good question.
see, jadi which is already like it is coming. It is a bit smaller, David. It coming from a very what do you call it, the Hebrew alphabet. But in the current Masoretic there is no nun, while in the Dead Sea Scroll there is a nun over there. So how are you going to explain that? Which one is the correct one?
You are one smart young man.
Nabi berkata bahwa Anda pandai dan Anda tajam melihat.
You're very smart. Okay. So it's true that the most important, there are many things we have learned from the most important discovery, biblical discovery, in the last century, the Dead Sea Scrolls, which the first discovery was in 1947, and then other caves were revealed. And there are many things we learned from them. But without question, the most important thing we discovered was that the Tanach we have, that the Jews have, because we have, out of 39 books in Tanach, we found 38. The only book we didn't find is the book of Esther. People have all these crazy theories. It's just simply there was a lot of destruction in K4. It's not a complicated matter. But the point is that we found that if we match what the Tanakh is today with what the Tanakh was 2,200 years ago, 2,100 years ago, then 99.9% the same. But I did say 99.9, which means there is a variation. Nobody cares about the 99.9. Everybody said, but what's the difference? And he pointed out the very interesting difference. And that is that in Psalm 145, it's a very holy psalm. Let's start there. It's, in fact, our sages tell us that if someone says this psalm 3 times a day, they're assured a place in the world to come. This psalm. And it's written in an acrostic. An acrostic means that the first letter of each line follows the Hebrew alphabet. B'chol yom beis gimel gadol Hashem. And this follows the alphabet. Why did David of blessed memory do this? Was he trying to show off his literary skills? The answer is no. This is done sometimes for many reasons, but one of them is you don't forget it. You're easy to memorize. The Eshes Chayil, the woman of valor of King Solomon, a prophet of blessed memory, also is an acrostic. But if you look at Psalm 145, there is no nun. Normally should be Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, and then it should go to nun, but it doesn't. It skips nun, and it goes to Samach. It skips it. I believe, I don't have it in front of me, that line 13, and this is line 14, just skips it. In every Hebrew Bible in the world, Tanakh, there is nothing for nun. Okay? No nun. Anywhere. You can go to Yemenite Tanakh. Yemenites have been there for 2,500 years. There's no nun. Nobody. And in fact, the Gemara tells us why the nun is not there. The Talmud says why David left the nun out, because the nun represents the word nofel, like a nephilim, which means to fall. It's a biblical literary device called an acrostic anomaly, which means by leaving out one letter, it calls everybody's attention. Look at that. And we think that Hashem doesn't want us to fall, okay? So that's why the nun's not there, okay? Now, what happens? We look at the Dead Sea Scrolls that were discovered, and we find that in this library in Qumran, in the Dead Sea, there's a copy of the book of Psalms, and guess what? A scribe wrote in there a line for Nun. There is a line for Nun, and I can tell you what it even says. Ne'emon Elohim b'chol d'rachav v'chased b'chol masov. That's what it says. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, it says, Ne'emon Elohim, that God is trustworthy, b'chol d'rachav, in all of his ways, v'chased b'chol masov, and he's a chassid, he is pious, not a good translation, in everything that he does, okay? So everybody's going, hold on, hold the papers. It looks like the Jews just lost a line, and somebody in Qumran was a big genius, and he knew the truth. In our Masoretic text, our Tanach of the Jews, everywhere in the world is wrong, and this one text is right. Everybody's wrong and this text is right. Does everybody understand? This is his point. The answer is this is all nonsense. It means the question is great, but whoever put in that line, put it in on their own. It means it was not original. A scribe decided to be creative, and he saw there was a missing nun, and he decided, I'm going to put it in. The question is, how can I know that? How can I make such a claim? What proof do I have? After all, it's true, the Dead Sea Scrolls is the oldest copies of the Jewish Bible, right? We don't have anything remotely that old. The oldest text that's younger than that is the Aleppo Codex, which is from 930. Dead Sea Scrolls is 1,000 years older. How can I possibly make such a claim? Now, it should be obvious to all of you, if every single Tanakh in the world, Yemenite Jews, Iraqi Jews, everyone doesn't have the Nun, except this one text, they better have a reason for it. But how can I know that there was a very creative scribe who added in that line? How can I know? Okay? Now, if there's somebody here who knows the text in Hebrew, you'll know the answer, if you know it well. How do I know? I'm going to repeat that line that's in the Dead Sea Scrolls that is not in our current text. Again, the Nun is there, and it says, Ne'emon Elohim b'chol d'rachav v'chased b'chol masov. And I know that's a fake. I know that means some creative scribe stuck it in there, and our text is correct, and the Dead Sea Scroll scribe, because all Qumran is a library. And being older is important, but doesn't mean necessarily that older is for sure correct. Could be that someone added in. How do I know for sure that was added in by a very creative scribe who's going to have to deal with God a little bit for playing with? But how do I know? What evidence do I have? You should know this. I repeated the text twice. The way I know it is, nobody wants to jump in? Okay. The way I know it is that he copied and pasted it from another line. Because actually, if you move just a few lines later, it says, Tzadik Adonai b'chol d'rachav v'chased b'chol masov. What does that mean? Tzadik Adonai b'chol d'rachav, the God is a tzadik, he is just in all of his ways, v'chased b'chol masov, and he is a chassid, he acts kindly in all the things he does. What did this creative scribe do? Very simple. First of all, the word Elohim for God is never used in 145. That right away is a tip. You'll never find that. But what he did was, he took a mouse, he selected in Tzadik Adonai b'chol d'rachav v'chol masov, he selected it all in, except he left out the first two words. So all of it now is white letters on a blue background. He did Control-C, or he right-clicked his mouse and he copied it. And in the beginning, he put in Ne'emon Elohim, and then he pasted from Tzadik. It's the exact Tzadi, so it's the exact same line. So we know for sure what this person did. He wanted to be creative. Is it permitted what he did? It's forbidden what he did. But there was somebody who decided, he's going to add in the missing nun. But what did he do? All he did was he took few lines later, copied it, pasted it, and just added it. Instead of the word tzaddik, which means righteous, he put in the word ne'eman, which is trustworthy, like the word amen. It's the same word, means it's true, it's trustworthy. In fact, in Arabic, it's the same word. So it's ne'eman Elohim b'chol derachav. And that's how we know the guy who did that in Qumran was a scribe who added in a text that wasn't there because he copied it from another line completely. Okay? That's a very good question. I waited many years, I waited 40 years for someone to ask me that question.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא